Getting up is something graffiti writers aim to do, putting paint to the wall for the world to sit and wonder how, and more importantly, why. This is not done out of expectation that it will last forever, but as an affront to the fact that nothing will. Getting up is a journey implied in the future tense of the language. What happens though when one achieves upness, that threshold beyond the rest, worldwide recognition? At this level one becomes fame, but how does the fame influence the creative process? Is one ever supposed to stay up? Banksy is one of the few street artists to achieve this status and cross over into the art world in a massive way. Hello, and welcome to this broadcast. I'm your host, Michael, and this episode will be exploring Banksy and what I like to call the downside of being up, or the effects celebrity, popularity, and commercialism have on art making. This is the art of giving. Due to the anonymous nature of the graffiti artist persona, very little has been confirmed about the formative years in Banksy's life. As stated in the book Stencil Graffiti, Banksy was born in 1974 and raised in Bristol, England. The son of a photocopier engineer, he trained as a butcher but became involved in graffiti during the great Bristol aerosol boom of the late 1980s. Banksy found his edge with a shift towards stencil art. This technique offered speed and efficiency while tagging in the open streets. Many trace this influence to Blake Lerat, a French stencil artist. Like the sentiment found in the Simpsons Already Did It South Park episode, Banksy's work often draws criticism for its derivative nature. Every time I think I've painted something slightly original, I find out that Blake Lerat has done it as well, only 20 years earlier. Ultimately, he would eclipse Blake in recognition. Thematically, Banksy would create art that gave voice to those who felt oppressed by capitalism. His style imbued flashes of truth with a tinge of dark humor that made them memorable. Stencils also offered consistency, amplifying Banksy's ability to get up with repeated messages. This was memeing in the analog world. The artist has come a long way since his pre-gallery era, and fame has certainly had its effect. From midnight throw-ups to million-dollar auctions, Banksy's audience has shifted, and this has had its influence on his work. This is the downside of being up. The most expensive Banksy ever sold was Keep It Spotless, commanding $1.7 million at auction in 2008. Described online as a defaced Damien Hirst, it's a stencil work that depicts a maid lifting up a canvas to reveal its frame while she sweeps the dirt behind. In actuality, Keep It Spotless is more of a collaboration between Hirst and Banksy, akin to the mashup Supreme has with other companies. It's no wonder it sold for so much. The oddity behind this team-up is that Hirst's work is the epitome of the art world establishment. A man known for formaldehyde sharks, diamond-encrusted skulls, and works painted by his assistants. One could say that Hirst is the art world's capitalistic supervillain. Hirst's impact on the world is exactly what Banksy creates against. A collaboration between the two imparts significant context to the work as a whole. It's not only symbolic of Banksy's raucous entry into the world of fine art, but it also shows that he plans to play their game. In 2018, Banksy captured another 15 minutes of fame when a copy of Balloon Girl shredded the moment it was auctioned. Something like this would seemingly destroy the aesthetic value of most art, but collectors aren't buying Banksy's work for its aesthetic value. They buy it to own a piece of the artist's mythos. Girl with Balloon, or Balloon Girl as I prefer to call her, is one of Banksy's mainstays. The stencil depicts a young girl reaching in anguish for the string of a heart-shaped balloon. Often appearing in social campaigns, Balloon Girl symbolizes a crisis, that love is being taken away. What carries this piece is the distance between the girl's hand and the balloon string. Like Michelangelo's Creation of Adam, there's an unbearable tension in that space. Banksy is a larger-than-life character, and shredding the work added a new layer of storytelling and complexity to the work, making it more memorable and more valuable in the process. The artist even gave the work a new name, Love is in the Bin. The tension of empty space has been cut apart, forever altered and separate, as if the empathetic sentiment is no longer attainable. Banksy confirmed that the shredding was his work, and Sotheby's authenticated the piece as the first artwork in history to ever be created live at auction. It's unclear when sussing out the possibilities of this action what Banksy's intent was. In the Instagram explanation, he states his purpose as, in case it was ever put up for auction, seemingly to alter the value negatively. It can be determined, however, that this statement is intentionally obfuscating because of its many interpretations. Was Banksy trying to destroy his work, or was this just a prank on an auction house for views and Instagram likes? Is Love in the Bin an expose on the subjective value of art, or was this just another publicity stunt to capture headlines? Art is most things, and when properly guided, it has the transformative power to change how we perceive life. There is no doubt that Banksy's creative ability has been co-opted by the very people he wanted to critique. And this has influenced his voice. Is he fighting this co-option, or has he been corrupted by it? This is the main struggle of being up, but it's not the only one. Currently, Banksy is battling unofficial exhibitions, with thought-provoking titles like Banksy, Genius, or Vandal. These collections remove the context of his work, offering little meaning by utilizing the commercial potential of his brand to generate a profit. Death of the author is the viewpoint where the intent and opinion of the creator has no more bearing on the weight of a work than its viewer. And to most viewers, the post-market art seems genuine, even though it's unofficially hosted. It doesn't matter that a bunch of oligarchs pulled these works out of context to show them collectively for profit. The point, after all, when collecting art is to make money. Art is an investment, to be protected behind glass and viewed only by those with the right connections. Banksy's initial response to this was an Instagram post of a message between him and someone else. Banksy, seemingly surprised by the message, states his lack of involvement and that he does not have much room to speak on copyright infringement. The issue every artist confronts, especially when it comes to celebrity, is intent. What drives the call to create? It's apparent that Banksy's muse was different than other street artists at the start. So different, in fact, the whole world started to pay attention. Eventually, this attention became an inseparable aspect of Banksy's life. His art was no longer the visual musings of a vandal on the wall. They were immersive events designed by a millionaire. They no longer embodied the struggle of living in a corporatized world, but rather became the live, laugh, love of the commodified countercultural lifestyle. Ultimately, this crippled Banksy's creative intent, peaking with Disneyland, the all too predictable jab at Disney and their theme parks. What should a millionaire do to ensure their art's message and execution have the same resonance? Banksy could have been more destructive with Balloon Girl or more aggressive with Disneyland, but this is an issue larger than a couple publicity stunts. There is a massive dissonance between the Banksy's anti-capitalist message and the bourgeoisie of the fine art world, and this cannot be rectified with novelty. It requires the subversive tactics that birthed the street artist in the first place. Banksy's one true advantage is the value granted to something with his work on it. People are willing to tear up parts of their buildings, set up tourist traps, build for-profit world-traveling art galleries, all because of the way he applies paint to the wall. That's power. Adding value and the incentive to remove are the things that a famous graffiti artist can anticipate. The potential offered by this power ranges from painting things people want removed, like Flint water pipes, abandoned houses, or to hiring a team of official forgers to flood the market. Banksy used the familiarity of pop culture to give voice to the class war he observed. He used his talents to share a message that could not be ignored. But has anything come from it? Has anything changed? The short answer is yes. Banksy's art is now a commodity, and with that commodification comes power. How Banksy wields this power is yet to be seen. But take a closer look at these recent works and ask, who's benefiting from these? The choices that grant financial success might also end up with corruption of work and identity. Banksy's surely has. But like with Balloon Girl, there is always hope. Artists spend their careers fighting obscurity and irrelevance. It's one of the factors that forces them to change and evolve. Eventually, novelty won't be enough and Banksy will have to adapt. The question is, will he be directed by market forces, or will he find a way to reclaim the integrity proclaimed within his art? Writing graffiti is about the most honest way you can be an artist. It takes no money to do it, you don't need an education to understand it, and there's no admission fee. That's a quote from Banksy. Thanks for watching. Died Famous is a project that's focused on giving back with art. Our contributing artists donate their time to make free memorial portraits for families that have unexpectedly lost a loved one. If you'd like to support us, give us a like, a share, subscribe, If you're feeling generous, check us out on Patreon and join our growing list of sustaining members. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.